Hello, hello. Welcome back to Trading Triangle. Once again, it's me and Kay on this lovely Sunday. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing great, Sean. Happy Sunday to everybody who's watching.
Absolutely. For once, I actually don't have headphones in because I switched to a different setup. So it's very weird actually doing it like this. So forgive me if I mess up that kind of thing, but that's part of the parcel. It's all a bit of fun, isn't it? Obviously, we're just a couple of guys on the internet talking about charts. It's not financial advice. We like to share our perspectives, and obviously, hopefully, that you can gain some knowledge through that as well. Bit of trading psychology as well. And obviously, thank you very much for walking out through the platform. Really, really appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you, pretty much. But yeah. Oh, what was I going to say?
I think you're going in and out a little bit, Sean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you move forward, and I think maybe it's pressing on the microphone. So yes.
Maybe I should stay like this. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
Much better. Yeah.
I might switch it up when you start talking.
Okay.
But yeah, we were going to go live on Tuesdays. We're again going to postpone that this Tuesday, but we're going to be going live the following Tuesday. I don't know what the date is for that, but do stay tuned for that. It's a Tuesday takeover, and we're very much looking forward to obviously getting that started. And that's going to be involving Nate as well. He's coming back for Tuesdays. And as always, with what we do on Sundays, make sure you stick in your ticker requests. We would love to hear what you've got coming. Obviously, stick them in the chat down below.
Yeah, we already got a couple requests, so
keep quite a few already, haven't we?
Yeah, keep it coming.
Awesome. And I think the last thing is just to subscribe to us on the Trading Triangle, as you can see on the screen there at the bottom left on YouTube. So yeah, we're looking to kind of get to 1,000 subscribers at the end of the year, and we're looking forward to it very much so. So without further ado, should we jump into the slideshow?
Yes, sir. Let's do this.
It is so weird not having headphones. I might have to switch back later on. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Awesome. Right. Obviously, tomorrow we are closed as well. Just the last kind of thing. It's inauguration day for Donald Trump. And of course, the market will be closed for that. We'll be back, obviously, bright and early on Tuesday morning, ready to trade the markets. So last week, it was looking pretty green. It felt pretty green, didn't it, Kay?
It did. It definitely did, and it did not feel at the same time. It did not feel that green.
Really?
For some of the stocks. Like at least on Friday, I would say I felt like Tesla was really, going for. But I also saw that, it's still in the same range. And we'll touch upon those stocks a little bit later. But some of the stocks that at least I'm trading are still trading in the same range. We haven't seen any breakouts or breakdowns either.
No, you can see Tesla just there on the screen. It was kind of behind their heads before, but up on almost 9% as well. So that's not too bad. Obviously, the financial sector got a bit of a kick as well in the top middle section, as you can see with the mouse kind of rolling around. Apple taking a bit of a hit, 4% down. I think there was a really ugly candle. I forget what day it was now, but it was a really ugly candle.
It was it was an engulfing candle. Honestly, it was Thursday. That was the day.
I think that did spark a little bit bearishness through the market as well. But generally, the other big hitters, so Microsoft, Google, Meta, Amazon, all doing pretty well throughout the week, and obviously NVIDIA completely flat. But yeah, we'll move on to the earnings, I believe. No, not earnings, not yet. So the Fear and Greed Index is 38. I think last week we were sitting at 26. A bit of an increase.
It increased, but also the put to call ratio went up by 0.01. It was 0.71. It was 0.72. So there is still fear. I think, that's the funny part, right? When you look at the SPY chart still going up, still pretty much like, you're like, 5% down from the all-time highs, and people are already in fear. The put to call is slowly creeping up to a higher digit. VIX actually did come down. VIX was 19. It's back to 16.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the SPY charts. It's a very interesting read. I think I've taken a bit of a step back as well on the weekly. But of course, nice first time for Ibrahim. Thank you for joining. We do really appreciate the extra viewers. And this guy says TikTok is back. It's not a problem for me in the UK, but do you use TikTok at all, Kay?
No, I don't actually. I remember I did have a TikTok. It's just, I have better things to do in life.
Yeah.
Not TikTok. Because I will say that it is pretty addicting. And once you're on TikTok, it just sucks your time like anything. So whatever they have, they do a pretty good job in, keeping your eyeballs on the app. So the app is doing what it's designed to do. I just don't want to be wasting 2 hours watching people dance on the internet.
Yeah, the algorithms are very, very good on TikTok. And what I will say about TikTok, it's probably the only thing, I don't actually use it. I used it a couple of years ago. And it's the only thing I've actually learned things from by watching the kind of that typical social media. I've actually learned stuff from TikTok. So
I will give you another. So I learned watching on TikTok how to put the garbage bag correctly. So I mean, there are good things, right? If you get the good content out, yes, absolutely. So
awesome. Let's get back to the stream then, shall we? We've got new requests, obviously Crowd and Z. We've got Amazon and Netflix as well. And of course, just come through NFAs and EL. So keep popping them through. We'll get to those a little bit later on. So I think we've got earnings up this week as well. So obviously the banks kicked off the earnings seasons last week, which is really, really exciting. And this week we've got one big hitter, in my opinion. That's obviously Netflix Tuesday after close, just here on the screen. Anything else popping up to you here, Kay?
Yeah, I think for me personally, it's 3M, United are the other two that I'm watching. And the reason is that 3M has been in the dumps for a long time. And most recently, it had a very good run. I was in a trade with 3M running a leap covered call. So it just got called out. It ran almost like $20 in the last few months. And generally, you don't see these kind of moves in stocks like 3M. So I have to go back and see what's going on with 3M.
Interesting. I think the week after is going to be even more interesting as well, isn't it? I think that might be Tesla. It's normally about that time of the earnings season. Cool. Let's move on to the first chart then. We've got SPY, and this is the weekly chart, Kay. This, to me, is a bullish engulfing. Do you see that?
I do. And let me also pull up my put to call here. What's going on?
So I'll talk about the chart while you do that then. So it looks like the bullish engulfing typically is a kind of reversal pattern within candles. And of course, the kind of large white candle you can see here, which is typically green. And obviously it outpaces or outgrows basically the one before that, which is normally the red candle. And that basically means the buyers are fully in control and they engulf the last candle and it should continue its momentum upwards. Now I've got this line here drawn at 609, and that's essentially what I wanted to hit. What happens there, I don't know. I was actually speaking before stream. I've got a little bit of a theory it might be just a bit of a double top, given how far we've come in the last pretty much 18 months, thereabouts. And it's been a very bullish last 18 months. You can see it on the screen here. So is a little bit of time for a bit of a double top, maybe a little bit of reversal. Trump's in, that's kind of happened. Inflation is relatively stable. Lots of people will probably argue with that. But that's kind of my theory around the market. I'm not going bearish. I'm just being cautious.
Yeah, I think the sentiments are pretty similar from a put to call standpoint, right? We are going from 0.94 to 2.54 and then ending the week with 2.28. Sorry, 2.54 is when we are ending the week. So that's pretty bearish because a lot of options, there are a lot more put options open on SPY. You will see probably a different metric when you look at QQQ.
Awesome. I think we'll just move over to QQQ now, won't we? So this one's a little bit trickier. It's on the daily chart. Well, not trickier. That's a bit more obvious, I guess. So obviously you can see on this SPY, you've got the bullish engulfing candle here on the right. But on the QQQ, if you break that down into daily charts, I mean, they're very similar in the way that they trade. QQQ is a bit more volatile, in my opinion. But you've got this bull flag, which obviously has taken place in the last couple of months or so. Well, actually, no, just over a month. And you can see it's just breaking out there on Friday. Really nice price action. Looks like it came down during the day, touched its previous trend line, and then obviously moved back up to kind of finish around this 521 mark. Again, I've got 539 in mind, and then again, I'm looking for a bit of a double top, and a bit of cautiousness, I guess, around that sort of level. Any information around the kind of put to call there on?
Yeah, similar. It's 1.1.7, but I also believe that with the earnings season, so next 3 weeks will be primarily tech season, right? All the big tech reporting, and that's where we'll get some more direction on QQQ.
Exactly. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. And just the last kind of point, you've got a little bit of a push above the 50 moving average and the 20 moving average as well on Friday. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes in the next couple of days. Obviously, tomorrow it will be closed, but we'll see what happens on Tuesday. And like Kay said, in the next 3 to 4 weeks, it'll also be interesting with all the earnings happening as well, especially in the first couple of weeks, because that's where all the big boys come out and report their earnings. Are we done with the QQQK?
Yeah.
Nice. Right, that brings on my first chart of the day, which is Google. So pretty similar to the QQQ actually, which I didn't really think about. But you've got here the previous resistance back here on the left side of the screen, which is 190 to 192. Obviously, we did trade around that again in the last month or so. It looks like we just kind of pushed up there. It's kind of this mid parts of this week just gone. It looks like we're just kind of breaking above that, or looking to break above that kind of wedge that we've created. Again, I've got 200 in mind, but I'm not using 200 as a target zone. I want it to get to 200, get above it, and then come back down and retest the 200, and then make a move higher. Again, we do have earnings as well at the beginning parts of February.
2-4.
So it'd be tricky to, I don't know whether to wait for this or not. I'm just kind of monitoring it, seeing what's happened. Are you into Google at all?
Yes, I'm into Google, and I will say this: we do have 36 up revisions for Google. This company generally generates about $88 to $90 billion. So last earnings, they generated $88 billion for the revenue. This upcoming earnings, they're expected to generate about $96 billion. So that's almost $8 billion more than the last quarter. And we have 36 up revisions on that, which means it most likely is going to be a beat, or at least in line.
Well, we'll see, won't we? Are you looking to trade the earnings at all, or are you just going to sit with the earnings and see what happens?
I probably will look at the IV around the earnings time frame, and I'll probably be trading this one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's a quick one. We'll move on to the next one then. Alibaba. Not your favorite kind of industry, I don't think, the Chinese stocks, but I've kind of drawn a little bit of an interesting chart here. So all of these yellow gaps throughout the screen are the gap fills. So you've got one around 92, one around 99, one around 107, and obviously the final one being the big yellow line here is 113.50, which you can't quite see because the icons are there, but I promise it's 113.50. And we've got this kind of trend line that kind of has been pushing down for a couple of months now, actually maybe 3 months. And this week, this is the daily chart, this week on Friday, we had a really good push through that kind of trend line. Now, of course, with these stocks, you do have to be wary. Of course, they trade on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, and they do kind of trade throughout the night as well. So I wouldn't go ahead and put large positions on these types of stocks. So just keep that in mind. But then, of course, you've got this volume profile on the right here as well. If you can get through that, I believe the first gap fill is very, very possible. Just finishing off with this, I've got a bit of a stop loss, roughly in place around 79. So that's a bit obviously risk management that you should always have throughout your trading. Any thoughts to this one, Kay? Alibaba?
So let's say if we don't have a position and you want to, do you want to wait for the retest from the trend line before you make a entry, or you already would make an entry at this point in time?
So full disclosure, I'm already in this trade. I kind of entered it back here, so I thought that was a breakout and I kind of let it run. But yes, I would probably just get in straight away, to be honest with you, because the nature of this stock, it kind of moves and it moves fast. Typically with kind of slow moving stocks, I would wait for a retest.
Okay.
But with the sharp decline of the trend line, that's probably not going to be, very what's it called, likely, I guess.
So you're looking for that first gap fill at least, moving from 85 to 92.
But what I will say, if we get a kind of good move in the next couple of days, I will bring up my stop loss straight away to break even with this type of stock. Whereas other stocks, like US stocks, should we say, I'll use my stop loss and kind of bring it up slowly. But this one I'll bring straight to break even. So that's why I don't lose anything.
Got it. And just keep in mind, I think the earnings are on 221. So I'm not sure how much is going to get impacted, but I think next 4 weeks will be interesting, at least for US-China relationship.
Yeah, of course. And that's the last thing I was going to bring up, actually. I mean, Trump and Xi Jinping, I can never say his name properly, but you know what I mean. They seem to have had a good chat recently. I don't know what that means, if that means anything, but just like they're kind of getting off, quite nicely straight after the inauguration, of course. But yeah, no, we'll see what happens with that relationship. But so far, so good. and Chinese stocks reacted to that nicely on Friday, as you can see on the chart here. But yeah, that's it really from Alibaba. Anything else to mention here?
No.
Awesome. So you can find me obviously on X at SHAUN_trades_, which is probably what you're watching on now. Same for YouTube as well. And we're going to be going live on Tuesday on Market Open for myself, because I've got the day off and I kind of want to get involved. And I'm actually going to Spain actually the next day, so it's going to be a tricky one. But yeah, and the last thing, obviously, TTR, you can see on the screen there, which is my trading community, which is actually free now. Obviously, there is paid parts, but if you go onto my X profile, you'll see it. You can enter the community, you can join in the chat, and it's a really good laugh. But with that, then I'll just hand you over to Kay. First chart, Tesla.
Yeah. So it's a very, very interesting setup on Tesla, and this will be more of options trading and specifically wheel strategy that I'm recommending on this one. So this is a clear channel that you can see. We have a 378 to 426, 428. You can say is so 428 has been resistance for a very, very long time. You can see it got rejected at least 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 6, 7 times it got rejected. So it's a very hard rejection. That's a big volume bar, a lot of trading happening over there. So it would need some kind of a catalyst to break through. The next catalyst would be the earnings season that's coming up. And for now, the 378 has been a good support level, because that's where also we have a decent amount of trading that happens, and we have had a lot of touches for a good support level. So the trade that I recommended, and Sean, if you don't mind just jumping on the next slide, if you follow me on Substack, you can go and read this article on the trade idea that I have put together. It's basically a covered call strategy. So if you have just recently bought, or you want to buy Tesla as one part of the trade, the idea basically is pretty straightforward. You buy Tesla at when I posted this, it was 414. So I was recommending 414, 418. You buy the stock, let the stock run to the 428 resistance. That's when the stock is running up, and then you can open a covered call at $500. You can look at 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and then you can generate a lot of premium. So just by this particular trade idea, you can generate anywhere between 35 to 45%. The one in my math says 39%, but that's the range depending on at what price you're buying the stock and at what price you want to get out. If you are doing covered call strategy, there are a couple things I would recommend highly to keep in mind. Is Tesla generally moves with big moves. So it sometimes have 3%, 5%, 7% moves. So when you want to open covered calls, open it only on those days when you have big candles, because the IV goes up and you get very good premiums on it. Second, if it's a red day, even if you have a position, do not open any covered calls, because you lose a lot of IV in that. And generally, when you are hitting those resistance levels, that's when you sell covered calls as well, because there's a lot of trading going on, a lot of activity. So that's an idea if you want to give it a shot, if you like trading options and wheel strategy.
Nice. Anything more on the chart? Or?
No, that's pretty much it. I think for now, because I'm a range-bound trader, I like seeing stocks in range, and I tend to get in at the lower end of the range and pretty much get out of the higher end of the range. That's pretty much. But you tell me what you see from the chart.
So what I see on the chart, I've actually acted on this recently as well, and it's kind of a bit of a trend line breakout, typical me breakout trade. But I drew a line from basically one of these peaks, as you can see on the screen where my cursor is. So it starts from there and it comes all the way down through to kind of where the lower highs have been met. And obviously we broke out here on Monday and came back down, and then there's a separate kind of line here, which is 426, which kept getting hit. And I think you mentioned that as well as a bit of resistance. So I'm just kind of waiting for it to kind of break through there. I do have a position at the moment, but waiting for break through there, then I can really kind of start moving my stop loss up and getting a bit excited about making a little bit of money. But yeah, I think my first target is 458 off the top of my head, and obviously beyond that, I'll just raise the stop loss and let the winner run. See how Tesla gets on. If it stops out, it stops out. That's trading. But yeah, a bit of a trend line breakout trade, and you could probably see that on my X somewhere. In the beginning parts of the week, but that's probably lost now in the ocean of X posts. But yeah, that's my kind of take on Tesla. I think it's looking good in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Next one is NVIDIA. So this is also another, I would say, the range bound trade.
Yeah.
And if you notice that NVIDIA hasn't really done much since October of last year, it's been pretty range bound. 133 to 149. It got rejected 2 times. Especially if you see the last big candle where it got the big engulfing candle, and that kind of changed the structure. So this is actually a very, very good spot to add NVIDIA for that upswing, because the current price target is $172, which you can see the line above, the blue line at the top. So that is the price target for NVIDIA for this year by the analysts. So even if you consider that NVIDIA is probably going to hit 172 at some point this year, this is a good trade to be in. It won't be a day trade. It probably would be a swing to a position trade, depending upon your portfolio and risk. But I like NVIDIA at these levels to continue to add, especially at the current level, because you can see the volume bar. That's the point of control. That's where majority of your trading is happening. So a lot of buying, selling. It's just, if the price falls below that, it gets sucked up back to that level, because it acts like a magnet. So yeah, I mean, both these stocks, Tesla, NVIDIA, similar, very similar. They are having very strong resistance and very strong support.
Yeah, and I would say if you're not into kind of trading NVIDIA or any particular name in the semiconductor space, you can also trade SMH and SOXX, which are both semiconductor ETFs, which obviously have a large holding of NVIDIA, but it just takes the edge off if you are looking to kind of trade it short term, at least, on the day trading side of things. So just a little bit of kind of guide there. But in terms of the chart, you kind of nailed it on the head there, Kay. It's kind of trading sideways for a bit, and obviously basically going to pick a direction pretty soon. You would think, if not, obviously it could just keep trading between these two lines, and obviously you'll pick those gains up as we go. I mean, you mentioned the fact it hasn't really moved since October, but you could actually make an argument for it hasn't really moved since June.
Yeah.
These are the highs we've met there. So yeah, is it due a move? Who knows?
Yeah. There's a question from Andrew. And he asks, does this factor in Trump chip sale restriction with China? So from what I understand, that Biden had put that restriction in place. Now, I think depending upon who you hear, there were a couple folks on, I think, YouTube kind of dig into it a little bit further, that it's an extension of the current ban. It may not impact the China per se. However, I think Jensen Huang came out, and I think he did mention that he is looking forward to working with Trump to alleviate this issue. So I think any good news, having conversation with Jensen Huang and Trump about that, I think is going to give some lifeline to NVIDIA, and even may push the stock to break that 149 resistance. But yes, if any negative news comes out, then you probably are looking at a breakdown to the next support, which I would say 114 would be the next support level.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one. I think it's a catalyst, isn't it, really, potentially? We've got a question here. What is the X handle for the person showing a video chart? Their names are too tiny on the screen. I'm just going to type it in the actual chat. There you go. You better. Oh no, that's actually gone through on YouTube. But yeah, the handle for K is. Let's just do this. Maybe you might be able to see it a bit better. I'll leave it there for a couple of seconds, but it's at InvestK for you to have a look at there. Sorry if you don't get that, but yeah, it's also written somewhere on X as well. So
yeah,
awesome. Where can we find you then, Kay?
The usual.
Oh, there you go. I could have just done that, shouldn't I?
There you go. Twitter pretty much post daily different content, different charts. So if you are interested in more asymmetrical bet ideas, you can see it there. YouTube, I've been posting from a lot of years now. So a lot of more videos are lined up. And for new trade ideas that I just showed you about Tesla, so I've started picking back up writing those trade ideas, and it's free for now. So go ahead and subscribe there.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't just change the slide to make that a bit better. Well, yeah, no, go ahead and follow Kay's really good content creator. Right, let's get these charts sorted out. Have you got them written down, Kay?
Yes, I have. So I have 3, 6, 7, 8 requests. So we start with crowd first.
Cool. We'll just plug the fact that you can keep putting your ticket requests in the comments. Obviously, we love to see them. We love to hear them. Gives us ideas, and it obviously gives you perspectives as well on your own charts. But yeah, put the ticket requests in the comments. And before we jump into those, I'm just going to keep fluffing around with these clicks. Subscribe to Trading Triangle. I'm going to leave it, I think, in the bottom left-hand corner for this whole session. Might as well. But yeah, we're trying to reach to 1,000 subscribers this year. So do appreciate the help to get towards that. What did you say? It was CrowdStrike, wasn't it?
CrowdStrike is the first one, yes.
Awesome. This one's been pretty rage bound recently, isn't it? That must be right up your alley.
I don't like the last candle though.
No, I don't mind it. I think it's obviously it's very red, or in this case yellow, but you can see it's bounced off the trend line, which I've got drawn on the screen, which I must have had for a while now. The 50 moving average and the 20 moving average, it's kind of bounced above that. So we'll zoom in a bit more so you can see it. But yeah, there's some points of bullishness there, in my opinion. It does have to go back to the kind of top of the range, which is 360, no,
Yeah.
sorry, 384-ish, but let's have a zoom out, shall we?
Go for it. Just pull
That's the kind of wedge, ascending triangle, whatever you want to call it. That's what I've kind of drawn there.
So, okay. While you're looking at that, I just looked up the price target by the analyst. Now, again, I'm not saying that this, price targets by analyst is the only metric that you should look at, but it kind of gives you an idea on, how the Wall Street is measuring the stock. So right now it's 379, the average, which
It's right there.
is not a lot from the current. It's basically 6-7% from the current price target. I think Crowd was a very good steal when last year they had that massive dip.
Yeah,
I know a few friends who really bought a lot of CrowdStrike at that point.
And it'd be going very handsomely now, wouldn't it? If you bought it at this line, now you'd be up 50%. So
Yeah, I missed it, honestly.
yeah, so did I. You can't get them all, okay? You can't get them all.
No, you
That's an
can't.
important lesson for traders watching. Can't win them all.
Yeah, I missed the entire run-up. And I still don't have it in my portfolio.
It's actually at risk of really breaking the trend line, if anything. Like coming down. If you break that trend line, maybe making a move towards that kind of 200 moving average.
Yeah, I mean,
Trade.
the only good sign is that the 50-day is climbing up. And if it crosses a 20-day, that is a little bit bullish. However, the problem is also I'm looking at the upcoming earnings, which will be on 3/6. They have a lot of down revisions on their EPS. So that's not a good sign.
One to be cautious of then. What's up next, okay?
The next step is Zscaler.
So ZS.
ZS, yes.
Okay, this is a chart that I've not looked at for maybe ever, to be honest, because I've got no lines on it. And
So yeah, okay. This is also part of the whole cybersecurity space. Let me see. I think I have some. Look at this one. So
not the perfect line, that. Not even that. Maybe this one. It seems to be that cybersecurity is not doing as well as other industries.
Yeah, I think they have been lagging for a while. But I do believe that cybersecurity stock, and I don't know the ETF which tracks all cybersecurity. I'm pretty sure there is an ETF. But I think having a cybersecurity stock, regardless of which one you choose, CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, I think having one little bit exposure on cybersecurity is not a bad idea.
We've got an ETF in the UK called LOCK. I don't know if it's available in the US, but it's LOCK, and it's all kind of like, PANW, CrowdStrike, probably Zscaler in there somewhere. So that's an alternative one if you are looking at that. I think there is another one, but I can't remember what the name is off the top of my head. But yeah.
I think we'll be able to find that ETF. But I think, from a Zscaler score, I like the stock. I would actually see how it plays, because I believe the 50-day moving average continues to be the resistance. And it actually has it's going to be very interesting. There's just a lot of trading in between these levels. So any of these levels could act as a resistance. But if I'm really looking at it, the 50-day moving average would be the first resistance. Second would be around the 199, because that's where it got rejected. And you saw that big wall, red candle that was back in mid-December. And then I will then track also the earnings, which will be 1 month from now.
Interesting. Yeah, not an industry I'm normally in. We do have a question from Man Ram on the screen. So can you please please guide on how you both draw trend lines, including shadow? I'm not too sure what it means by shadow. You know what that?
Maybe he's asking about the volume profile.
Oh yeah, okay. So unfortunately, this is actually a paid trading view, so you do have to pay for trading view to get the volume profile. But the indicator is called volume profile. You can probably find it on other charting systems as well. But it just shows that the volume at certain levels, really. And obviously, the point of interest on this chart, as we can see, the highest volume is around that 200 mark. So like Kay was saying, obviously we've got the 50 moving average here as resistance. You've also got the resistance of the volume profile as well around that area. So just be aware of that. In terms of how to draw trend lines, you just kind of look for like obvious highs and obvious lows. But we'll jump into the SPY and QQQ because I think that's probably the easiest representation. When you agree, Kay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got the higher lows, and then you basically draw a line across them to gain your trend line. Obviously, this is not going to be a perfect trend line, but you can kind of see roughly what I'm looking at. And obviously the most touches on the trend line, in hindsight, are the most strongest trend lines. It's obviously not the best example, but even if you were just looking at this, you've got a few touches down here on the daily chart. This is, and then obviously here as well, and obviously most recently up here as well. Again, this is not the most cemented trend line, but just kind of roughly how I kind of look at drawing trend lines generally. But there's loads of videos out there on YouTube. I've probably got one somewhere on my YouTube channel, but obviously there's lots of other different videos as well. Kay, you probably got one drawing trend lines, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think you summed it up very nicely. I think this is not a trend line drawing show, but I think it gives you a good idea on where the stock is moving. And I think most traders would agree that the more touches you have on a trend line, the stronger the trend line is. And your trend line and then it also depends on the time scale, right? So if you're doing a trend line for a minute, will be very different from a daily to a weekly. So the daily, weekly will show you a much stronger trend on the direction of the stock, as opposed to an hourly or a 4-hour or a minute, 15-minute, like that. So depending upon your trading style, you will choose the time scale.
That's a really good point. And typically traders start from a bigger time frames and move down into smaller time frames. But you'll see as you watch these kind of live sessions that we do, when we go through the individual tickers, I'm always drawing lines on charts and just kind of naturally see how the trend lines have been drawn. Anyway, what's up next, Kay?
The next up is Amazon. You might want to sit back a little bit. I think it's your microphone is again. Yes.
Okay, I need to work that one out. Maybe I might put it on the stand next week.
Yeah. And you're trading Amazon, right? So I believe.
I am, yes. So at the moment, I mean, it's very, very typical of me to look for a trend line breakout. So as you mentioned there, I think it was Man Ram was the name. Obviously drawn from the highest point on the chart, and we're kind of dragging it down for the lower highs that have been made. Obviously, this is a bit tricky. That's a kind of different video to kind of get into a bit of detail on that. But basically, it didn't break fully. But basically, now we have actually broken fully. Would you agree, okay?
Yeah.
So what I'm looking for now is essentially a move back to all-time highs, which is sitting around 233. I'm already entered. I must admit, I have already entered into this trade. Would I get in now? I'm not so sure. That's up for you to kind of determine. It's not obviously trading advice. That's not what we're here for. But it's a good-looking chart, and I like the way it's moving as it stands. But yeah, we're looking good at the moment. Just another one.
Also, keep in mind that they report earnings on 131. So you might see more volatility. You might see a little bit more activity at these levels. But for me personally, 217, 229 is my range where I basically have drawn it. The stock is basically bouncing in that range. And we'll see how it plays out with the earnings. So again, if you don't like to play earnings, I will not recommend trading in that time frame.
And I would suggest if you're new to trading, I would probably stay away from trading earnings because it could be a bit too intense, I would say. That's kind of how I would put it. But the earnings here is the big kind of pink line going through the screen is what I tried to say. So yeah, not far away at all. What's up next?
Next is Netflix.
This one's been going down recently, I believe.
Yeah, but they are reporting earnings next week also.
The last earnings report was very, very bullish. I remember it well because I was watching it. And then you can see, obviously, the pop up there. There's a really good increase in subscribers. And of course, the paid subscribers are doing really well as well. So they're getting lots of money off advertisers. So interesting business model. Obviously, they started, I think. Did they start the whole kind of paid advertising?
No. I think
on streaming, I mean.
Didn't Disney already had that, right?
Yeah, so they might have copied Disney on that one.
Yeah, because Netflix whole moat was that you don't pay any, you just pay the subscription and you get zero ads, I think. But the business model changed. But I remember when Netflix was down in the dumps here, like in the 300s, and
yeah, I remember that.
Right, that was a couple of years ago, and then this took off. I wonder if they're going to do any stock split. Right, the stock is getting very expensive, and for a lot of retail investors or traders, even like it's pretty expensive stock to trade.
So this kind of low here back in 2022, you've got the low of 160. Wow.
Sebastian is back. He says they changed their payment model. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it worked.
Yeah, there's no confirmed news if they are going to do a stock split. But I think if they hit $1,000, they probably will look at. Because if you notice, you really haven't heard. You don't hear on YouTube. You don't hear on X. You don't see much people talking about Netflix because it's getting expensive.
It is. Do you reckon they'll notice they'll bring up a stock split on the earnings call? Is that a chance of that happening?
Could be.
That might be a reason for an investor to get excited again, or even traders, I guess. Maybe.
I mean, if you think about like if you do options trading, right, and a $900 stock is like you need for a covered call or a cash secured put, you need 90 grand. It's just insane. Whereas if the stock goes, if it splits into $100, that's much more manageable. Yeah, Sebastian is like 99. Yeah, I think so. I think at some point, I think Amazon delayed it a long time when Amazon used to trade like over $2,000 and nobody was touching that stock.
Yeah. Good to see you, Sebastian. Sorry, I was just moving into another tab there. I can't do two things at once. That's just how I am. What's up next, NK?
NFLX Energy. I think you used to trade this often, right?
I don't mind it. I think it's a good company. I haven't looked at them actually, to be honest, for a couple of months. So I might look into them again, especially if they're down in the dumps yet again. They were one of those stocks that were kind of relying on interest rate cuts. Obviously, no one's going to really be buying these to borrow money to buy solar panels in their homes. So they were relying on that a lot. And obviously, ENPH was a leader alongside First Solar. But it's just been beaten up so much. What I would actually look for here is a bit of RSI divergence, but no, we don't have that either. So there's no point talking about it if we don't have it. But yeah, I mean, it's still, I'm not going to get into it just yet. I don't see anything bullish on the charts. I see, if anything, it's kind of broken. You can see that was kind of a trend line kind of moving upwards, a bit of hopeful, but it's kind of broken that to the downside. So just from a trading perspective, that doesn't look great. Any information on ENPH in terms of price targets, perhaps, Kay? I'm not too sure.
I'll tell you the price targets, but the first for next quarter, you have 26 down revisions.
Yeah, that's not great.
Price target from Wall Street is a buy, but the target is about $90. So you do have a good upside.
It is, yeah. It's just knowing where the bottom is, isn't it? That's the tricky part.
Exactly. So can we see further downgrade Probably. And if you notice, the current level of 62 and going up to 70 have some very big strong volume bars, so a lot of trading is happening, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more selling pressure if the earnings disappoint. I wouldn't be surprised if we go down to the 20s and 30s, which will take the stock price back to the 2020 lows.
Yeah, that's incredible. This is the monthly chart, and so this is 2020 here. So that's incredible price action in the space of 5 years.
Yeah.
It's a shame. It really is. Anyway.
But I think this also gives you a perspective that, let's say you invested $10,000 when the stock was, I don't know, $30, and it ran up to $341.
Yeah.
Which means that your asset allocation on your portfolio changed, right? Let's say it was 10% of your asset allocation, and it probably jumped up like maybe 60%. I'm just throwing some random numbers. So at that point in time, you need to do some kind of a portfolio reallocation, right? That's what professionals do. And I always believe, like, especially for if you're not except SPY and couple other Mag 7, I think most other stocks, the idea is to always take some profit out, at least take your house money out from it, because then what will happen is you may be able to get it back in during the next downturn. And as you can see, this was a whole 5-year run. It's not like it happened in 1 quarter or 2 quarter. So
yeah, I think the key message there is obviously risk management in your long positions as well as your short-term positions. Obviously, we're traders, so we obviously have risk management on all our trades. But if you're looking from a long-term perspective in any position that you have, I've always had that kind of downside risk management, as you mentioned as well. But not looking good for end phase at all. See what they say on earnings. What's next?
Next is EL. I think it's Estee Lauder. I think this stock has been brought up a couple of times now, and
yeah, it does pop up, doesn't it?
Doing an analysis on this one, but I always forget. So I'll definitely put it on my backlog to definitely check this out.
It definitely pops up every kind of month or so, like maybe once a month. I don't know who brings that up. Maybe it's the same person. But it looks like even this is the weekly chart. So yeah, literally 5 weeks ago, we must have looked at this because I've drawn a line which goes back down to the lows. It kind of almost made it, but then kind of came back up again. So we'll get rid of that now. But yeah, still making lower highs, and it's not a great sign. We do have a potential higher low here being set. So if that carries on, I'll be interested. But obviously, we've got this trend line drawn from way ago. I'm not too sure where that's come from. Oh yeah, that's the monthly chart.
I still don't see enough evidence in this one to be comfortable in taking a position.
Yeah, no, it's a bit similar to end phase, isn't it? As long as it's kind of more moving down, it's not setting any concrete higher lows. And again, you probably have to dive into the company, see what they kind of, not what they do, obviously everyone knows what they do, but see how they're performing, what their kind of future projections are, that kind of thing, look into kind of presentations. But all that kind of stuff takes time, and people don't have time for that. So they just kind of move on to the next opportunity that everyone else is taking. But yeah, that's the market.
Yeah.
Kind of waffled on a bit there, didn't I?
Yeah. Next up is Meta.
What's up next?
Meta.
Yeah. This one's been playing around the $600 level. It's been really annoying me. It just doesn't want to break out of this area that we're in now. Any words on Meta? So
Meta is in a very interesting spot, right? So little bit perspective. Mark Zuckerberg, he has been bouncing around, both sides of the aisle, and I don't think Republicans or MAGA folks like Mark Zuckerberg either. So that's one aspect, right? The second aspect is he has cozied up to Trump now. He is, part of the inauguration. So he's definitely found his way in the inner circle. Whether, how it will turn out, we don't know. Second of all, the whole TikTok ban, depending upon, the fate of TikTok, Meta might get some advantage out of it, right? It's going to be interesting. We'll see. I think for now, we'll continue trading in this range until we see some kind of a major announcement. What has Meta really announced lately? I know they took some digs at Apple in one of his interviews with Joe Rogan. But the same can be said about Meta as well. What have they really invented lately?
Are they doing the glasses with Ray-Ban? Is that what Meta's doing?
Well, you can say Google was the first one, or Samsung had also something similar, right? They came up with a Ring as well. So, but has it become mainstream yet?
No,
Like
still a little bit.
Amazon had their own glasses where you can actually get the prescription glasses. That did not fly either.
Wow. All this new tech not flying. Yet we've moved on really, really far in the last 20 years, regardless. It's incredible where we've come from. So I don't really have anything to add to this chart apart from this $600 level. We can actually, we've retested it a few times ish. It actually looks like it's kind of respecting the 50 moving average a bit more. So if I take that away to kind of get a bit better vision, we've got a touch here and we've got 1, 2, 3 touches on the 50 moving average. So that's a good support for Meta. So if you do see it come down again, then perhaps that might be a good opportunity to, consider a possible position. But obviously that's yet to be determined and see what happens there. But the all-time highs, I think, are around this sort of level. If we can get back above that, then I might be playing that in a very short-term trade, perhaps. But yeah, Meta's not really one of my favorites, to be honest, to trade. I kind of always prefer like Amazon and Google, to be honest. But
so Meta, if you trade options, Meta gives you a very good premium compared to Google and Amazon. However, I mean, right now I think it's pretty much in limbo. Again, nothing against Meta. I think it's a pretty solid company, and we'll see how it plays out, right? Because with our friend Mark Zuckerberg, moving towards Trump side, let's see if he can get some benefit out of it, right?
Yeah, Sebastian says, just realized I could have retired my whole bloodline by investing in Fart coin and Trump coin, something now I have to stick with trading longer. Have you traded in any of these coins that people keep talking about? There's a Trump coin this weekend has been going nuts.
Yeah, apparently it was a $30 billion market cap last night, and somebody posted it was 60 billion in the morning today. First of all, I think you just need to know when to invest and where to invest. I didn't know.
Anyway, let's move on.
Next up is TSWC. I've never heard of this one.
Was that TS or TX?
T as in Tom, S as in Sam, W as in, I guess, Warsaw, C as in cat.
No, I don't have that.
Okay, did I get it wrong? Okay, so let's move on to the next one, Hood, while let me look for if I got it.
Yeah, no, it is right. Yeah, you're right. We'll go Hood anyway, because that doesn't come out of anything. Wow, Hood has been exploding, hasn't it, recently? I've seen some recent kind of tweets throughout the week. It's just been going absolutely nuts. I'm not too sure if it's all-time highs yet. I don't think it is. Let's go all the way back. All-time highs is 85, so still got some way off of that. But really quite an incredible move since October of 2023. Wouldn't you agree? From there to there.
Hood, man, I'm not trading the Hood yet, but it's crazy, like how you think, like, do you look at its financials? Is it really doing very well, or what happened with Hood recently?
It's just lots of optimism around the kind of platform and how much it's going to be used. And I think they've got a gold card now, which is obviously extra revenue. But yeah, I don't really know too much about the company itself, but I know that obviously it's very, very popular over in the States. It's not overly popular here in the UK. A lot of people still use trading 2-on-2.
Okay.
If you know, you're familiar with, but I think it is over here now, Robinhood. So clearly expansion is working as well for the company. So yeah, nothing but good things, but I couldn't tell you what's actually driving this move, particularly in the last week.
So Sebastian says it might be TSMC instead of TSWC. That could be.
It could be. We can always look at that if you like.
We can do that. Yep.
TSMC.
So TSM basically, yeah.
Oh yeah. They had earnings this previous week, didn't they?
So somebody actually, I don't know if that comment did not show up here on the side panel, but an individual named Planet, they said Hack is the ETF in the US that holds a lot of cyber security stocks.
Yeah.
So
that's the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lock and Hack.
That's an interesting name. Hack. Yeah.
So this is TSM, obviously earnings this previous week. Nice little jump up, but kind of coming down after that, really, isn't it? I mean, not too sure where we'd find a bit of resistance, maybe around this kind of 206 level. So it could be an interesting one for me in terms of breakout trading. Obviously, we had this hype around the NVIDIA event, which caused this one here, but a bit more of a natural kind of potential breakout trade if it comes back down to kind of the 208 level. Let's move up to 208. So yeah, I'm going to write that one down, actually. I don't know who brought that one up, but, well, actually, no one did. We just assumed it was that one.
Yeah, we assumed. And just another one, Bug, another cyber ETF. So
yeah, they're all flying through.
great.
Bug, lock, and hack.
Yeah. It's a very creative name, though. I have to give it to them.
Yeah, they all make sense in their own little way, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. Next up is TMDX.
TMDX. So this one comes up every couple of weeks as well, and it's never, nothing ever really changes. It's still awful.
Yeah. I would wait for the gap fill to happen before even looking at the stock, considering it's on a downtrend.
Oh, yeah. That's quite a move, isn't it? From 125 down to 57. I will not be touching this. I mean, it is breaking the latest lows. So if anything, you'd short it, but you don't know even where to short to. I've got 43.24 drawn on my chart for some reason. I must have done something looking backwards, but yeah, maybe short it down to that. But yeah, that's still way too risky for me, especially in this current market.
Next up is CDNS.
Cadence Design Systems. I've not heard of this one before, but it looks like it's kind of doing what everything else is doing at the moment, or most things. A bit of a bull flag, perhaps, happening here.
So they provide software, hardware, services, and reusable integrated circuit design blocks worldwide. They offer functional verification services. Okay, prototyping.
So who brought this one up? It was... I don't actually have this one on my list. So yeah, whoever brought this one up, it's not too bad. It looks like it's looking to kind of break out of this bull flag, perhaps. It's nicely above the 20 and the 50 moving average, which you've got the kind of blue and the white lines flowing through the chart there. Nice bit of volume profile as well on the right as well, really kind of peaking up above any other sort of volume peaks there. Again, above the 200 moving average. So yeah, it's not a bad setup this at all. In terms of targets, we would very clearly be looking at this kind of 326 level. So that's not a bad trade. It's probably just under 10%.
Yeah, and 323 is their price target for the year. And another interesting metric, Jet, if you track price targets, if you use that as a metric to trade, the price action and the price target for this particular stock is pretty much in line. So whatever they are doing a price target, the price pretty much hovers near that line.
Okay.
So if you use Seeking Alpha, this feature is available. You can check it out. It's in the tab called Ratings, and when you scroll down, you will see price target versus actual price. And if you use price target as a measure to trade, always look at the estimate analysts make and generally how the price moves. That gives you a good idea on how accurate analysts are in anticipating the price targets.
So we've actually got 2 points of previous contact on the 326 line as well. So I like as well, this is the weekly chart I've zoomed out on. Another nice sort of bounce off the 50 moving average and the 20 moving average on the weekly as well. So there's lots of positives in the way it's moving. If it can break out of this bull flag, that's even better. But then beyond that, I'd be looking for it to break through this resistance point, potentially, making higher highs, which is very exciting for the company, of course. I'm assuming it's higher highs, looks like it. Yeah, so actually, I really like this one. I'm not saying I'm going to trade it anytime soon, but I'll definitely have it on the short list. So whoever brought this one up, we really do appreciate it. CDNS.
CDNS, yes. Next up is SNPS. Synopsis. I think I've heard of it. I just don't know what they do, though. Let me see.
This is the weekly chart. Looks to be kind of going sideways since throughout the whole of 2024. $500 stock though, it's a big one.
Yeah, it's it's a $81 billion market cap, so it's a pretty big company. They are in the this is basically application software IT side. They design automation software products used to design and test integrated circuits. So it's basically the previous one and this one, they are pretty much in the same industry. I'm not very familiar with what they do, so I don't want to sound crazy. But looking at the basics, they have a price target of, let's see, $630. So that's about 20% you're looking at upside. And from an earnings standpoint, they generate close to about a billion, 1.64 billion every quarter.
That's interesting. I mean, looking on the chart, we've got the 50 moving average on the weekly is this yellow line, but on the daily, you've also got the 200 moving average. There's lots of big resistance in the way. So from an upside perspective, I'd wait for it to get through that level, come back down and retest it, of course. But until then, I'm not excited for this. I'm looking for it to actually go lower, if anything, just because of the amount of resistance ahead. Again, it wouldn't be a very long trade for me if I was to get into that. But this is probably not one I'm going to look at, to be honest.
Next is Palo Alto, PANW.
With the rattle through these last few, I think.
Yeah, we have 3 left. So Palo Alto, Datadog, and Cloudflare.
Awesome. PANW, right, here we go. So again, on the cybersecurity side of things, we've covered quite a few of them tonight.
Yeah.
I think the ideal entry here, I mean, this is the daily chart. The ideal entry was down here. 200 moving average, which I know you like to add on the long-term positions. Big volume profile here on the right, which you would expect because there's lots of obviously trading within that range on the chart that you see. But yeah, hitting a bit of resistance here at the 20 moving average, but it's not the most cemented support for this stock. Actually, no, it is. Yeah, to be fair, no, lots of resistance touches. A little bit of support there and a little bit of support in this zone as well. Are you trading PANW? Do you trade it much?
I have not traded it recently. I did trade it last year though, but it's not often I trade cybersecurity stocks, but it's on my radar. I just have not traded it recently. I'm seeing if we can continue to see a breakdown and closer to add around the 200-day SMA. That's my goal for a long term.
So you want to come down and retest it?
Yeah.
In a little way, yeah. No, I think this is quite a big holding in the LOCK ETF I was talking about earlier. I don't know about Bug and Hack.
I'm pretty sure
they'll be pretty high. Yeah.
This is one of the big cybersecurity stocks.
Yeah. So yeah, keep an eye on PANW if you're into that kind of space. But yeah, near term price action, not great. We do have obviously previous support here as well at this kind of 179 level. You could probably make that a zone, maybe somewhere up here as well. So we are kind of hitting that as resistance as well. So just be aware of that if you are looking at this name. What's next up, okay?
Next is Cloudflare, NET.
Is that another one?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's I'm loving cybersecurity names today. It's great. Listen, I like this stock as well. For the long term, I do have a position in Cloudflare. But what I don't like is the resistance at this level where we keep getting rejected around the 116, 117.
It's high though. It's quite nice.
Yeah, it's a higher high, but clearly you can see that that has been a resistance. It's still in the uptrend though.
Yeah. Still making higher lows and higher highs. It's pretty good. You just kind of want it to break through that level almost, don't you, really?
Right. And the 111 has been the point of control from a volume bar standpoint, right? So it's really trading. It just shows that there's a lot of a lot of trading going on. Earning is coming on 2.6, so you may see a little bit more volatility. We may see that trend breaking. It also has a very strong buy rating from Wall Street. Buy rating from Wall Street, and the price target is 103, which is actually a 11% downside, the average. So
I'll be interested to see if it breaks either upwards or downwards. That's kind of my take on this.
Just looking at their operating, so the problem with Cloudflare is that it's still not a profitable company, right? The net income is still negative. Then they are losing money, but it's improving, right? So they're losing less every single quarter.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to see in a company. But definitely we need to do a little bit more digging in. If it's just like a short-term trade, then probably, getting in around the point of control 111.12, and then, for the upswing of 116, 117, like a day trade. But for a long-term swing trade, I would actually have to do a little bit more digging into this one.
Awesome. All right,
Next up is another Datadog.
I see this one you brought up the other day, didn't you? I remember you.
Yeah.
It looks really, really nice, actually.
This is a nice retest at the trend line. We do have a gap, but that gap is it's like, man, I missed adding it in during that before that gap up that happened. But I still like the stock at these levels. Let me see what else is happening. Datadog.
Yeah, I really like this one for sure. Just as previous resistance here on July of last year, and obviously throughout the later parts of last year as well. Not quite hitting that zone, but I've drawn that zone as just got a bit of a base. We kind of touched it a little bit on Thursday, but I'm going to wait for it to fully get into that zone before I get interested. But yeah, I do really like this kind of setup, as you know. It actually goes back way further as well, as you can see on the screen, that resistance area. So yeah, cemented. What are you going to add to this one?
No, not much. I would say the earnings is coming up soon. 210. We have a 32 up revisions. So might play the earnings. And this company has not missed a earnings since 2019.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. 6
Right.
years.
It's only once they came in line. Apart from that, on the EPS, apart from that, they have had a beat on EPS and revenue since 2019. So
Wow.
I don't know what you'll do with that data, but that's something to know, that you can play the earnings accordingly.
Clearly a very well-run company, at least. Well, that concludes the charting session. Obviously, thank you very much for all of your ticker requests. Do be sure to keep sending them in. I think next week we're going to be on a bit later, which Kay doesn't know because I'm actually flying back from Spain on that day. But we'll discuss that a bit later on and we'll announce it through the week and obviously over the weekend as well. But yeah, big thank you to Wolf as well for letting us use the platform. We really, really appreciate it. Over 4,000 viewers, which is really, really impressive. We're getting that on a consistent basis now. But yeah, we're looking forward to kind of going live on Tuesdays as well. Obviously not this Tuesday, but the Tuesday after. Again, I forget what date that is, but it's late January. We're trying to get through the month. But yeah, anything to add to that, Kay?
No, I think just a reminder that tomorrow, Monday, is not going to be a trading day. It's a holiday in the US. So, and the inauguration ceremony, and looking forward to Tuesday and see how the stock market reacts.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, with that, goodbye and trade safe.